G'day guys, Will here. Welcome back to the channel. So if you cast your mind back about 2,500 subscribers ago now, we built our very own wind simulator for sim racing. So what do I mean by a wind simulator? I mean exactly that. What it does is it generates wind using some fans. So as you're driving down the road inside your virtual racing car, you get that sensation of the wind blowing in your hair. And we had Barbie, who's sitting on the table here, demonstrate it for us. But unfortunately, although it all worked in principle, we found that the fans that I had laying around that I used for the project simply didn't move enough air to really provide the level of immersion that I had hoped it would do. So I promised you that I would come back with a part 2 where we would upgrade the fans, get it all rigged up on the simulator properly, and show you what the overall effect is when it's done properly. So unfortunately, and I do need to apologize to you guys, it's taken me ages to get this part 2 video put together for you. Unfortunately, I ordered the 2 replacement fans that you see in front of me here now. One of those arrived DOA, and then there was a whole back and forth and argument with the supplier who didn't want to refund the $12 for a fan or replace it or anything like that. And we went through a whole mess there. But anyway, we've got 2 working fans here now, and they definitely move a lot more air. So the focus of today's video is going to be getting it all rigged up with the brand new fans and basically just seeing how it all runs, whether it's something that is worthwhile doing or whether it is one of those things that is cool in theory but not so much in practice. So as always, links are in the description to everything that you'll see in this video for you. Those are affiliate links as well, so if you use those links, a small amount of profit does come back to me to help out with the cost of running the channel. Now on that subject as well, we did end up 3D printing some 120mm to 3-inch reducers as well to go from our fans to our duct, as you see here. So basically that's just bolted on there. Now if you do have a 3D printer, then that is something that I've included the link in the description below for as well. It's just a file that I found on Thingiverse, so thank you very much to the creator of that for making that a lot easier for me. But yeah, if you don't have a 3D printer or don't have access to one, unfortunately it's a little bit expensive to get things like this printed, so much so that I actually ended up buying the Ender 5 for about double what it would have cost me just to print these 2 things. So there are a couple of other ways that you could do it. You could buy a funnel, for example, and just cut the ends off at the correct diameters. You know, you can get creative with that, but I figured for this video we'd do it the proper way and 3D print those for you as well. So otherwise, yeah, everything is pretty much exactly the same as it was in the previous video. We've got our Arduino Nano board here with our motor shield. We've got some little heat sinks as well. I'm not going to actually install those to begin with. We'll see how hot the little ICs get on the board and then decide whether we actually need to install those later on. The fans that we've got here do fall within the scope of the current draw that is acceptable for the motor shield that we have. So theoretically it should be okay. We've got a couple of 120mm fan guards here as well to keep our fingers safe and the kids' fingers safe. We've obviously got our ducts here as well that we showed in the previous video. Then we've also purchased a little jiffy box as well that we can use to make sure that all of our little circuit boards and everything are all protected. And yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. So let's get to work getting it all hooked up. We'll get it all installed on the sim rig and yeah, see how it all runs. All right, so let's clear some space here to begin with. And we're going to cut the end off this other fan. We'll just leave enough there that we can always reconnect the connector if we want to later on. Strip the ends here. So this time around I am going to extend the wiring as well, simply because I want to be able to have the Arduino board a lot further away from the fans. I want to be able to have the fans spaced nice and far apart as well. So we'll grab some wire to do that and we'll extend this wiring as well. So because our Jiffy box has a cutout slot there, we don't need to worry about threading the cables through this beforehand. So we'll just set this aside for now, and then we're going to connect our negative and positive wires to our Arduino board here. So if you remember from the last video, we've got a positive, a negative, another negative, and then a positive for our second channel. So channel 1 positive, channel 2 positive. So we're going to go positive to fan 1, negative to fan 1, nothing, negative to fan 2 and positive to fan 2 there. So we'll connect that now. Now we need to reconnect our power to the Arduino. Alright, so just a super quick test here just to make sure that they actually do what they're supposed to do before we hook them up to the ducts. So starting to hear them sing now, you can hear the PWM signal go, and there they are, they're spinning. I can feel the wind from here and I'm not even in the path of them, so that's a good sign. Get some speed here so I can hear, actually it sounds a little, the PWM buzz in the fans actually sounds like the car accelerating, so. Just going really slow here, I'm not driving properly by any means, I'm kind of watching the fans, but we'll get up to proper speed down the straight here. Remember we had it configured for this particular car, so they were 100% speed at, I think it was 170 kilometers an hour. So yeah, I can hear they're full speed now. They definitely feel like they're moving some air, so I think we're all good. I think we're ready to get them hooked up to the ducts. So what we have here is our 3-inch duct, and again, link is in the description below for that. We've got a couple of hose clamps here that hold it onto these little flanges, and they sort of just give it a nice little nozzle where it comes out and shoots at your face. That's what she said. But yeah, so we've got hose clamps there, and then these little brackets as well that we can use to mount it to the rig. So we're gonna need to remove one of these out, just pull straight out like that, and then we're gonna install the other end onto our fan ducts like that. So that pushes on, and then we'll just clamp down the hose clamp. So we don't want to do it too tight. We don't want to crack the plastic, obviously, but just tight enough that it will stay on there. So we'll get that done. Alright, so we're all rigged up on the sim now. What I've done is I've sort of aimed one on the side towards my face and the other side sort of aiming down towards my legs and my feet area, because I figured it'd be better to sort of have it spread out over an even distribution on my body, I guess, rather than just all sort of flying at my face. But we can make some fine-tuning adjustments a little bit later on. But one thing that I just want to point out quickly before we start, we'll just go across to my desktop here. I just want to show you one little change that I've made to the Arduino configuration since the first video. I was playing around a little bit with those older fans, and I found out that if I adjusted my pulse width modulation or my PWM signal to be a lot lower frequency than what we had it set to 1600. I found if I set it to 60 Hertz, it got rid of a lot of the whining that the motors were making. What it does is it updates and it sort of pulses the motors at the different rates to, you know, create the different speeds. And the higher the frequency, the more whining you kind of get through the motor. So for these fans specifically, I found that 60 Hertz works really well. So I'll just quickly show you how to change that. You want to go back into SimHub under Arduino, go to Open Setup Tool. So we're going to type in the name Wind Simulator again. And then scroll all the way down, exactly the same as what we did before. We're going to scroll down to the Shake It Adafruit Motor Shield, one connected. And instead of 1600, we're going to set this to 60 Hertz. And then we're going to choose the Arduino Uno and the correct COM port as well. And then upload to Arduino. And this is going to reprogram the Arduino at the refresh rate. All right, so upload successful. We are good to go. Alright, so we'll do exactly the same test as we did in the part 1 video. So skip Barber around Road America. We'll start off with our Barbie test like we did last time, so you got a visual representation of how much airflow there is. And then I'll just do a little bit of driving, just sort of give you my impressions. And then we'll obviously switch to VR as well and see how it goes with that. And we'll also want to try out some closed cabin style cars as well. We might do the Porsche 911 GT3 because that's got some cabin ventilation as well. But we're only doing 100 kilometers an hour there, and I'm already feeling some airflow. You can see Barbie's hair's already moving around as well, and that's actually really amazing. Like, I mean, that's about the same amount of air as we were getting at maximum speed with the other fans that we had in the part 1 video, and so we're only up to about probably 50% airflow at the moment. But I am actually feeling the airflow changing depending on my speed. Now, obviously, you know, it's not the amount of air that you would have in a, in a real open wheeler car, but at the same time, again, it's sort of a less is more scenario here where, you're just trying to add a little bit of immersion. It's like what we had with the motion platform, but let's just get up to speed here. I'm really starting to feel it now. I think Barbie's blocking a lot of the flow as well, so we'll take her out in a moment, but you can see just how much her hair is moving around now. That is really, really cool. Turn it in here. And it's ramping down again as well. I think Barbie's hair is a little bit sticky. Don't know what she's been up to. Probably too much hairspray over the years. I'd say she's a bit more like a troll doll than a Barbie doll these days. But yeah, it's actually really cool. I mean, it's funny because you forget that it's there pretty quickly. But it's like with any of these little things that we add to the sim rig over time, like they add that little bit of immersion, and I really think that I'd probably miss it if it wasn't there. So we'll get rid of Barbie quickly now because you can see how much airflow there is, and we'll switch on all of our other bits and pieces here. So we'll get our motion platform going again. Okay, so taking her off there has made a massive amount of difference to the amount of flow that I'm feeling straight away. So having that obstruction there obviously was making a difference. So we've got our motion platform back on now. We'll get our butt kicker going as well. So everything's running. There we go. All right. Yeah, okay, that's crazy now. I'm really feeling the difference in the amount of airflow depending on the speed, which is obviously exactly what we would expect, but it's actually working a lot better than I thought it would. It's just about the right amount of airflow, I'd say. Like, it's not, I can't hear the fans running at all, which is perfect. Like, you don't want to hear this big nyeh over the top. Obviously, because it is running sort of in proportion to your road speed, it wouldn't be that much of a weird noise in there because it probably kind of sound like an engine. But I don't know whether you guys can hear it at all on the microphone, but I've got my headphones turned down relatively low, and I can't hear it at all, to be honest with you. So I'll just turn the sound off for a second here. Nah, still can't hear it at all. So we're sliding out here. Let's get a little bit of speed down the straight, and then we'll switch over to VR mode. So we'll slowly build the speed up. So I'm already feeling airflow. And yeah, it's increasing really well. So it's definitely, it's enough to give you that sensation of speed, but not so much that it's going to dry your eyes out and make you uncomfortable over the course of a race. So I'd say it's definitely about the right amount of airflow. I think anything more than this would probably, you'd want to have it directed more at your body and less on your face, I think, because my gear shifts are all over the place. I'm not used to driving this car again now. But yeah, I think anything more than this on your face, this really sounds rude, would be too much. So yeah, no, I'm really, really happy with it. It's awesome. And I think I would really miss it if I switched it off again now. It's, it's not an absolute game changer like the butt kicker was, or the motion platform. Like, it's not going to make you faster. But obviously it's nice to have that extra cooling as well. I'm feeling quite refreshed. But no, it's definitely adding another layer of immersion that just wasn't there before. So definitely very cool. But anyway, let's switch into VR now and see how it feels in that configuration. Alright, so first time I've actually used VR in quite a long time actually. I did a little bit of testing in a Assetto Corsa Competizione the other day, but I haven't done iRacing VR for a long time, but already feeling the wind. That feels really cool. See how it increases with the, yeah, when you're in VR land, you're less aware of what's going on. That's insane. That's what I was expecting. Like, I think my reaction to using it with the triple screens was probably a little understated, because I was kind of aware that I was still, in the virtual world, and you know, it felt a little bit fake to me, but this is cool. This is something else. So maximum speed here, brake into the turn. I'm going to be hitting all my braking markers for the V8 supercar and the Porsche because it's been so long since I've driven a Skippy, so excuse my terrible driving once again. But yeah, feeling the variance in speed now as well. That is cool. So yeah, I'd say triple screens, yeah, it's worth the investment. VR, this is something you've got to do. Honestly, if you guys are using VR, it'd be really interesting to see how it goes after using it for a while as well. See if it stops me from getting fogged up lenses and things like that too. That's something that I'll comment on a little bit later on once we've had a chance to use it properly for a while. But this is so cool now. It's that final little bit that's missing when you're doing VR. This is this is awesome. Whoa, cold tires. I held on to it. Yeah, and again, like, it's kind of like I commented with the triple screens. Like, it's not so much airflow that it feels ridiculous. I think for an open wheeler, you know, you could get away with a little bit more, but yeah, like with the motion platform, it's the idea here is not to simulate the amount of air that you would have in a real car. The idea is to give you that sensation of movement so that your body is fooled into, you know, believing that it's real. And I think that's what's happening here. And because I'm not hearing the fan noise, like with the VR headset on, I can just hear the fans ever so slightly, but it's like it's not loud enough that I have to pay attention to it to hear it, kind of thing. Coming down the straight again now. Yeah, that is cool. And I can actually feel like it's cooling. I can feel it blowing up and around my face, around the headset a little bit here. So it's refreshing me as well. It's kind of like a 2-in-1. It's the best of both worlds. You get the cooling, plus you get the immersion from the variable speed as well. So it's definitely adding something extra on top of just having a fan blowing at you for certain. The variance in speed here relative to road speed really does give your brain that little bit of extra information that sort of just transports you to as if you're there in real life. So anyway, let's give it a go now with a closed cabin car. Let's give the Porsche 911 GT3 a go. Alright, so Porsche 911 GT3 from the rear of the grid around Road America. So the aim here is to sort of load up my sensors a bit, get everything going all at once, and just sort of see how it feels in a real sort of scenario. So, bit of wheel spin off the line. Not ideal launch. Probably a good thing, probably keep us out of trouble at the start anyway. We normally get a bit of concertinery going here with the AI, so might be able to get a few positions. Yep. Get up the inside of this one as well, but I'm feeling the airflow, and it feels pretty much the same as it does in a real car driving down a real road, to be honest. I mean, if you've got the vents open in a real car, just like the AC vents I'm speaking, like if you got your open air atmosphere vent setting set, or whatever they call it, then this feels pretty much exactly the same as it does just driving down a freeway. So I think we've really nailed it, honestly, with the amount of airflow that these fans are generating. And when you couple that with the fact that we're not getting a whole bunch of increased sort of noise from the fans or anything like that as well, we're locking up and sliding in. It's one way to overtake. Forgot how tricky this car is under brakes. Especially on cold tyres. Whoa, moving around, dancing. See if we can get down the inside of this bloke too. Not today. But yeah, I'm feeling the variance in the speed, and yeah, it just feels like driving a real car. So I think, you know, what people say about, you know, oh, the wind sims only work, you know, in formula style cars because you don't have any ventilation in a GT style car. I mean, that's not true. I mean, you can see the vent there. But, no, it feels absolutely awesome. And it's, again, like, it's not about trying to you know, create the most realistic sense of speed in terms of, you know, airflow and things like that. All it's trying to do is just fool your brain into giving you that sensation, and it's doing that. So, yeah, this is, I mean, I'm having to concentrate really hard. It's really hard to talk and drive at the same time and not just crash all over the place in this car, but it's cooling my face as well, which is nice. See if we can get these guys down the straight. Yeah, it's absolutely unequivocally worth the money. Like, I mean, it wasn't that expensive to build, and it's definitely adding another layer. When you sort of got everything going on at once, I'd say it almost is as cool as when we added the butt kicker. It's not going to make you faster like the butt kicker can, but yeah, it's definitely just making that little bit more of immersion, a little bit more immersion. I can't even speak properly, I'm concentrating so hard. Whoa, we got tagged. Oh, well, but nah, look, honestly, guys, this is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time driving now, and then I'll come back after an hour or so and sort of give you my impressions after spending a bit of time with it. So there you have it, guys. That is how you can build, or one way you can build your very own wind simulator based off the true speed of the vehicle inside your sim. So lessons learned here. I think that these fans that we're using now that are linked in the description, they strike a pretty good balance between loudness and the amount of airflow that they create. Now, one other quick thing to mention here as well is I talked about these little heat sinks that I purchased to put on the motor controller chips, or the ICs on the motor shield here. Now, what I found is even after an hour of driving with the WinSim running, those chips only sort of got warm to the touch. So I'm not actually going to bother installing these heat sinks for my particular installation. Now, keeping in mind that the fans that I'm running here and the fans that are linked in the description are within the spec of the motor shield that we use for this project. Now, you can purchase more hefty motor shields as well that allow you to run bigger fans. I've seen a lot of people using bilge blowers and things like that from the marine world to really take it to the next level. The trade-off there is that they're a lot more noisy than this is as well. So it's just sort of like a balance there. But I found with these fans at least, these ICs didn't get too hot at all. So I don't need to install heat sinks in my installation. But yeah, just want to make sure that you are using fans that fall within the spec of the motor shield. So if you use the fans in the description, those will definitely be okay, at least based off my testing. And they fall within the maximum spec as well. So I don't anticipate there would be any issues at all there. I think driving with triple screens, you kind of notice it and it's a bit of a novelty. But in VR, I really felt that it made a big difference. It kept my face cooler, which is one thing, but it just adds that extra little bit of immersion as well. And the other thing that I think is interesting to point out here is I found that it added immersion even when you're driving GT style cars or closed cabin cars as well. Those types of cars, generally speaking, do have ventilation systems. You'll often see the ducts on the dash. So they do actually pass air through as you're traveling down the circuit in a similar kind of fashion to how this works. So don't sort of be fooled into thinking that this is only something that you can use realistically in an open wheeler. It does add that extra level of immersion inside closed cabin cars as well. So it's definitely got a big thumbs up from me, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting this all installed properly as part of my new 80/20 rig build that's coming up very soon as well. So if you guys have found this video useful, please hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss the next videos. And yeah, if you do want to pick up the gear that we've used to build this simulator, you can do so using the links in the description below. And as I mentioned at the start, a small percentage of the profits from some of those sales come back to helping out with the channel, which is a massive help. So thank you very much, guys, for all your support. And yeah, we're going to leave it at that for today. So I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.